Good afternoon, grade 8s. This is Miss George speaking, and today our lesson is going to be on algebraic expressions. More specifically, we are going to be focusing on naming algebraic expressions. But before we get started, there's just some things you need to know. Moving forward, we are going to work with the acronym SALSA. S that stands for skills, right? Because there is certain skills needed in order to equip us to do the mathematical problem successfully. A stands for algebraic language, right? Because in mathematics we speak in a certain language so that everyone can understand us perfectly clear. L stands for laws, okay, which help us deal with our problems in maths. S, strategies, okay, and then A for attitude. You need to have the correct attitude in order to be successful, right? So before we get started, we are just going to recap on some of the algebraic language that you need to know. So if we look at the example 5x to the power 2, then our 5 would represent our coefficient, okay, and our coefficient is always the number that is directly in front of the variable, and that would be x over here. So x represents our variable, and our variable would be or can be represented by any letter of the alphabet. The 2 over here represents our exponent. Great. So once we have that sorted, we can then now move on. So when it comes to naming algebraic expressions, we need to determine the number of terms that is in the given expression, right? But before we can do so, we need to also know what separates terms from one another, and there our law would come into play. So if we look at our laws for this particular lesson, then it would be that positive and negative signs separates terms from one another. Right, and that can be the only two things that separates two terms from one another. Okay, so if I give you an example that says 5x squared plus 3x cubed minus 2x to the power 4 minus 7, right? So we need to identify where our positive and our negative signs are. So if you look there, there's a positive sign, there's a negative sign, there's a negative sign over there, which should mean that this over here represents one term, okay, with a positive sign in front, that represents another term, that represents your third term, and there we have our fourth term, right? So as you can see, we have 4 terms in front of us, okay? So you need to remember that the sign in front of your term goes along with that term, okay? So a lot of you got confused with that, right? So but before we can get to naming our variables, I just want to put some labels to it. If we have an expression that consists of one term, that is known as a monomial, okay? Monomial, mono, that represents 1. 2 represents binomial, okay? Bi for 2, like bicycle has 2 wheels. 3 terms is known as a trinomial. Tri representing 3 as in tricycle, 3 wheels. And then lastly we have 4 or more terms, which will be known as a polynomial, or we can call it a multinomial. Okay, so that is what you need to know. If we look at the example that is given to us over there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Therefore it's known as a polynomial or a multinomial. Right, so next we can work on a few examples. So I'm going to write a few questions down for you, and then you can pause the video and you can try them on your own. Okay, so now we have 5 questions for you, so you can look at these 5 sums and then you can pause the video, do it on your own, and then press play and we can do the answers together. Great, I hope that wasn't too difficult for you. So if we look at number 1, you can see that there is only one sign that separates these two. Well, there's only one sign in this expression, so therefore that would be a term and this would be a term over there, therefore giving me a binomial. I hope you all got that correct. Okay, then if we look at this over here, yes, we see a sign over there, but there is no term in front of that sign. So it does not mean if we see a sign there should be 2 terms that's being separated. It just means that your coefficient here has a negative value. So over here we have a monomial, mono for 1 term. Great. And then number 3, if we look at this over here, there's a negative sign, there we have a positive sign, so then that's a term, this over here is a term, and then over there we have a term. Okay, so then that leaves us with a trinomial. Perfect. Okay, let's look at number 4. Number 4, we have only one sign separating terms from one another, therefore we have 5x, that would be a term, and then positive 1, which is our other term, leaving us with a binomial. Great stuff. Then number 5, as we can see it's a bit long, so even that should indicate to us what it would be. If we look at it, we have 4x to the power 3, which represents one term, and then we have positive 5x to the power 2 representing another, minus 2x, and then positive 3. That gives us a polynomial because it consists of 4 terms, so polynomial, or if you remember it as multinomial. Great, I hope you've learned how to name algebraic expressions now, and that you all are comfortable with doing this, and then you will be able to do it successfully in your exams. Great, bye.